Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Rose Ward, Stampersdelight.com. Thank you for joining me today for the paper pumpkin alternatives for June 2022 pick of the crop. Let's get started. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, and come stamp with me. Just a reminder, the links are below for my paper share. Sign up by July 31st. Also, don't forget that the BOGO sale is going on for our regular card kits. Buy one, get one 50% off. We also have the Sweet Licious Fun Fold Club with Donna Gray and myself going on right now. For July, it's the Textured Chic Sweet. All the links are below. My Christmas in July mini retreat with the Leaves of Holly or Burrows of Holly Sweet. And my monthly online class for July is going to be with the Perched in a Tree stamp set. All the links are below, so check them out. Also, don't forget to check out Stampersdelight.shop.com, where you can find these great gifts, especially for Christmas in July. We have a mug. We also have, it says a laundry bag, but I would use this for Christmas presents. You can definitely get a lot of stamps in there. And a matching sweatshirt. We also have other items, so don't forget to check it out. Let's get started. Okay, so for this month, we are using the Paper Pumpkin Pick of the Crop, and you can see the items that you get. This you can sign up for a month, you can sign up for 3, 6, 12 months, and these kits come right to your door, and you can also cancel that anytime you want. So let's take a look. Here's my host code for June if you'd like to place an order with me. I'm going to leave that right there for a minute and bring in the cards that they show you how to do. And then I'm going to show you the alternatives. So this is the one right here. Such a cute little card, thinking of you. And I use the hello in there. And you do get the stamps, and you also get a little ink pad. The next one that we have is this one right here. Now, I've changed up the sentiments for some of them, and I've added some different colors. I've also added some other items, which I'll show you in a minute. So this is the one right here, and you can see instead I used the Blackberry Bliss ink spot. Love you a whole bunch. And the Wishing You a Happiest of Birthdays is also from another set, which I will show you in a moment. So that's that one. And then we have the cute little cart. You're the Pick of the Crop. Love you a whole bunch. And inside, of course, I did a little decorating. So those are the three that they show you. And of course, the bag that comes with it. And I did mine a little different. I stamped the bottom of it with the stamp that comes with it in Starry Sky and Calypso Coral, which is the ink spot that you get. This little thing right here, I'll show you how I did that. And that's with our vellum paper. And I added some of the flowers, because you get a lot of extras in this, and the cheese and the bread, thinking of you. So a cute little bag, and you can decorate it any way you want. They just have it decorated with the strawberry. Okay, so let me show you some alternatives. When I show you the alternatives, I'm going to show you some of the things that I used with it. I used this stamp from the Sweetest of Cherries. I used the Happy Birthday from the Very Best. This set is coming in the holiday catalog. And I also used the Wishing You Happiest of Birthdays. That's from the Charming Sentiments. And one of the cards, I used the Timeworn 3D embossing folder. So the first alternative I have to show you is with the flower cart. And instead what I did is I made it into a more of a 3D by putting a little piece back there. So you can see this stands up, and there'll be still shots. And I had some of the rustic metal embellishments. and some other embellishments, which I'll show you. So this just made it stand up a little bit more. And I made that into a birthday card. The next one I did with the same idea, but what I did was, and I'm just going to try to show you this, if you can see that in there. I cut this. I have one not done yet, so let me just grab this and show you what I did. Explain it to you. I cut this right across here, and then I layered this flat, and the top piece that I cut off, I put with dimensionals. So again, it looks more like a 3D card. And also what I used for this was the envelope, which are envelopes you can cut and use as designer series paper. And that's how I did this one. And I layered that right on top of some sweet succulent. Added some great ribbon, the sweet succulent ribbon here, satin ribbon. Wishing you the happiest of birthdays. You're the pick of the crop. So that was another alternative that I did. And we're just going to put that right back in there so I can show you a couple of cards that I'm going to make for you. And this one, again, I use the inside of the envelopes. I like to cut my envelopes up and use that as designer series paper. Here you can see I use the vellum paper again to carry the bread and the flowers in with the piece of cheese. Thinking of you. Love you, miss you. And that is also from the new Very Best Occasions, which is coming out in the holiday catalog. And the gems are, let me tell you what the gems that I use. The rustic metal, which are these guys. I use those for the wheels. And I also use the solid faceted dots, because I thought a lot of these colors coordinated with it. And that's how I keep mine. I keep mine in one of those plastic cases. So that was another alternative. Again, with using this card base. And I've done this in the past, so you can look at my videos to see how I did the pop-up card. So that's laying flat, opposite this way. Thinking of you. I scored it right in the middle of the front. And I made a little pop-up card. That happy birthday, again, is from the Very Best Occasions. So now I have a pop-up card. So you can get a lot of cards out of this kit. For this one, instead of layering the, let me grab that. So this is the way the card base looks. And inside here is this piece, and they show it by putting dimensionals on here, which is what I did with this one, or the original one. Let me just bring that one back out. The original one looks like that, and I just added these with the dimensionals, just like it shows you how to do in the instructions. But for this one, the alternative, what I did was, again, I cut this piece off. I cut around here, and I made two pieces. So this is the original piece. That's the back. So it's that piece and that piece. And then I took this one and I slid it back there instead. And of course, when I cut this, I used this piece as my background. And I just tied some of that twine around it. So it made another alternative. Okay. Put that one together. I'm going to show you how to do a few of these. You have a lot of leftover pieces when you do use this kit. And one of the leftover pieces, I used the white on white, and I used the time-worn background. And again, I used that long piece that was left over. I put it back there with some ribbon and an extra piece right here. You're the pick of the crop. And that one I left blank. And of course, these are the stamps that come with it also. So that was another alternative. The next alternative I did, again, I used the extra piece here. I cut it in half. And from the Sweetst Cherries, I used this piece and just stamped across the piece of cardstock, made it look like a basket. I cut the envelope for the background paper, and I added some more of the die cuts that were extras. So there was another alternative. So let's get started, and I'm going to show you how to do a couple of these. So this one, let me pull out the pieces. The first thing I did, now this one is the one I originally showed you that I made more like a 3D. You could lay it down flat if you wanted, but here I added a piece so that you can see it really pops out. Dimensionals makes it pop out, but this makes it pop out even more. And of course you can cut this and use this for another piece if you want. I'm not going to do that today. So this right here, what I did was I cut a strip of, it doesn't matter what size you use, and I have strips all over the place here. So what I did was I took this, and this is just a strip of cardstock. I'm just going to fold that over. Doesn't matter how you fold it. Might make it a little bit smaller. So you've got something like this right here. I'm going to take my adhesive. I'm going to glue that down just like that. And then you have this piece, and you can just squish it and make it pop up. So the first thing you want to do is put some glue here. And we're going to lay that right on top. Just like that. And then in the back, you can see that there's that piece. And you just want to squish it up a bit. You actually want to do that when you get it on the card. And I'll show you why. We're going to take that piece, and we're going to lay it down right here. And then I'm going to go back in and just pop it up a little bit more. So you can see it really, really pops up there. So you have a nice little pop-up card. Okay, so I'm going to grab the pieces that come with it. Here is the piece for the sentiment. And I'm going to use the Calypso Coral this time. That's the color that comes with it. I'm going to stamp the sentiment. I like doing the alternatives, and you get so many extra pieces, you can really get a lot of cards out of this. I probably can get a lot more than I'm showing you, which I might afterwards. I'm just going to stamp this. The pick of the crop. That is going to lay right here. So for this, I'm going to use my, again, my Stampin' Seal. I'll lay that down right there. Oh, before I do that, I want to put my little piece of bread there. And I am going to use a dimensional on that. Let me grab my dimensionals here. And you can use the dimensionals that come with the card kit is the larger ones. You can also use the smaller ones if you want to. Oh, the piece of bread goes right here. I'll lay that right down there. Whoop, up a little bit further. And then this is going to lay right there. On the card. You can see it's still popped up quite a bit. I'm going to go in and I am going to grab those Rustic metal dies. And you can use the smaller ones or the larger ones. I'm going to put those right in there so it looks like the real wheels. And the inside, I am going to use, let's see which sentiment. I'm going to use the birthday one, okay? And again, this is from the Charming Sentiments. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Bring this one in. I love the paper pumpkin kits. I love any kind of kits. They're just so easy to use. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with the coral because I already have that in here. I'm going to bring in a piece of blotter paper because I don't want it to get on my mat. And then I'm going to go right back in with the Blackberry Bliss. And I'm just adding some of those. I'll just add another one right there. And then I'm going to finish that off with the Faceted dots. And I'm going to use the darker green, the evergreen. And I always like to put one on my sentiment. So there's an alternative for you, a really big pop-up card. So I like the way, and it's so easy to do, right? To make it pop up like that. Okay, let's put that over there. And of course, here's the envelope to it, which I'll probably cut up. So I'm going to put that back there for a second. I'm going to bring in the next one. Which is this one. And again, the directions show you to put that right on top of there with dimensionals. But what I did for the alternative, right here, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that now. I'm going to leave these open, which is probably a bad thing for me. I'm going to cut this in half. I'm going to use this as my card base. So I need to grab a piece of white. Well, you could use any color. I'm using the white. Fold that in half. When I use white as a base, I do use the thick basic white. And then this one's going to go right over top. Now this is the same size, so I have to trim that down. So I'm going to trim that down to 4 and 5 1/4. That's going to layer right on top of there. And then this piece is going to go on top. So first thing I'm going to do is trim that down a little bit. I need it to be 3 3/4. So I'm going to start at 4 right here. Slice that off. I'm going to swing it around, go to 3 3/4 right here. And then I have to make this 5 inches. So I'm going to do the 5 inches at the bottom. There's 5 1/4. So this is originally 5 1/2. So let's start at 5 1/4 and just take off a little bit there. Flip it around and make this 5 inches. So this is going to layer right on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut around this. You can cut some of that off. Okay, so this card, you're going to layer that there. This is actually going to go up here. And then with dimensionals, I'm going to put that right behind it. And you will have to trim some of it off. So let's start with this piece. I'm going to add some dimensionals. And I'm going to layer that right on top here. I'm going to use this as my base, so I know where I'm going with it. So we're going to do that right there. And then this piece actually gets glued down flat. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to layer that right there. This one is going to go right on top, but you can see it's too wide. So I'm just going to flip that around. Well, actually, I'll do it so you can see. And all I'm going to do is take my paper snips and go right up here and just snip that off. And the same thing with this piece. I'm actually going to do it backwards. This way I have a guide. Now this is more three-dimensional. And that's going to go right up there. So you can see that it's layered. This piece also is going to have dimensionals on it. And also the bottom. So this is actually going to layer right on top of there. But I want to put some twine on there first. Should have done that first, but... So let me grab the twine. You do get the twine with the kit. I used all mine, so I'm using some other twine that I have here. And it just came all unraveled on me. That's all right. I'm going to add a little glue right here so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to add that right there. And I'm just going to wrap this around maybe 2 times. And then cut it off. Okay, now it'll stay in place where I want it. And I'm going to add this right here. There we go. I'm going to bring in these other little pieces that go with the kit. I'm going to add some Winkostella for this one. Let's grab this one. I think this one's refilled. I'm going to just go ahead and put some Winkostella on here. This needs to be squished. I need a little bit more here. Okay. Ooh, that came out a lot of glitter there. Just adding some of the glitter. Add a little bit back here. You can do this ahead of time. Okay. Then I'm going to take this piece and this one. I'm going to stamp on that. Love You Whole Bunches. Again, I'm using the Blackberry Bliss. That's one of the coordinating colors rather than the Calypso Coral. And I'm going to go ahead and glue that right down. I am going to, if you watch my videos, you know I love my dimensionals. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this. And I'll just tuck that in right here. This one is going to go right here. Again, add some of the Winkostella. And some more dimensionals. That's just going to lay at the bottom. I'm going to add some of my gems. And for this one, I'm adding the lighter blue. I'm going to take that twine, which is all unraveled here. And I am just going to bring that right through here. Take a nice long piece and tie a bow here. This is definitely a great little kit. And I'm leaving those strings nice and long. I actually like them that way. And then I'm going to layer it onto my card base. Just make sure I do it on the right side. So I'm going to take again my Stamp and Seal, and I'm going to layer that right in there. Love you a whole bunch. You're the pick of the crop. I'm going to go in here with the Blackberry Bliss. I think you can see that a little bit better. And then, again, bring this in. Add that. Grab an envelope. Because remember, I cut this all up. And I'm just going to add some flowers here. And there you have an alternative. Again, here is the envelope that you can use this envelope, but I'm going to probably cut that up later. So there is the second alternative. And then let's bring in the third. I'm going to put these envelopes back here so I don't lose them. Okay, so here is the pieces that they tell you to do. I'm going to, again, put that envelope back there so I don't lose it. Let me bring in the card that they show, which is right here. My alternative is going to be, let's see, where did I put that one? Going to be a little bit different. Okay, so I'm going to use this piece. I'm going to show you how I did that. And of course, this is with the envelope. But I'm going to take this, and I am actually going to take a piece of vellum. And this is our printed vellum. I have a lot of pieces in here, so I can put, there's a piece right there I can use. I'm going to cut this down. I found that 3x3 works really well. So I'm going to show you how to make that little vellum piece, which was also on here. And then I just filled it up. And you can make these as big or as small as you want. 3x3 seems to work for the card. I used 3.5 by 3.5 to make this one. All right. So there's the vellum, and what I'm going to do is take that point and just fold this in like that, and then again fold it in like that, and then take that piece and fold it down. Okay, so that gives you that little piece that we're going to be working with. Now, if you like, you can put a little glue right here to keep those pieces together while you're working with them. I'm going to bring this in. The bread is actually going to go inside here. Just like that. So are the flowers. This piece I'll leave right there. So I'm doing that at an angle just like this. Now you can put a little glue on this to add the flowers in there. And this time I'm going to grab this beautiful ribbon that's in our annual catalog, and I'm just going to tie a little knot here. Cut that off. It's bigger than I need, but it's easier to work with. And I'm going to put this down here. So I'm going to wrap that to the back, and you can see that I'm going to have to trim it. Just going to trim this just a little bit so it's not so bulky, even though I'm going to use dimensionals. I'm going to layer that there. Trim a little bit of that off. Get a little bit more glue there. And then wrap this right to the back. Oop. Okay, that didn't want to stay down. Let me grab a little bit more. Just fold that in. So we have that cute little knot there. Then I'm going to go with my dimensionals. So many great ideas you can do with this. You can see I put a dimensional right over the ribbon. That actually helps it stay in place too. I'm going to lay this right like that. I'm going to take the piece of cheese, and you can see it's different than this one, but I wanted to show you how I made that little wrapped piece of vellum. I'm going to go ahead and put the cheese right here. I'll need 2 of those. Tuck that right in there. I've got another little piece of bread. I might use that. Like I said, they give you a lot of extras. So this one I'm going to use Thinking of You. I'll use the Calypso Coral this time. I'm going to bring in that twine. And I'm actually going to loop that right through here. And then loop it through here. At least I think that's how I'm going to do it. I want a nice long piece so I can work with it. Oops, something just fell on the floor. I'm going to tie that into a knot or a bow. This is why I do it longer. It's easier to play with. Tie that right in a bow. That is a little too long, so I'm just going to cut that off. And you can leave that tag the way it is, but I usually put a dimensional on it just so it stays where I want it and it's not flopping around. There's another. I'm not going to use that. I'll keep that for something else. I don't like it flopping around, so I use a dimensional in there. So again, there's and here's a alternative, and here's another one. And I'm going to leave the Thinking of You plain because I might want to put my own sentiment in there. I'm going to go ahead again with these. Just do that. I'm going to bring in those faceted dots. And I want something that's going to show up. The dark blue might show up, but I think I'll go with the pink because the background or little blanket is pink. And this will actually make it stand out. And we'll use one more right here. Okay. And there we have another alternative to the different ways that you can use this card kit. Now, another thing I want to show you, and this I stamped. You do get a little bumps there, so if you're doing it on the side, you got to be careful because you get that little bump. But, I mean, you can put these cute little cards right in your little bag and give that as a gift. I'm going to show you real quick how I use the inserts, or the inside of my envelopes. I've done this before. You've probably seen me, but if you're new to my channel, you may not know how to do that. So what I do is I just cut that off, flip it around, cut that off. Then I go in here and I cut here. And then I usually cut on the score line. You're going to have to cut it down to fit your base. But that's what I start with. And then I can just go here and cut that down to 4 inches if I want it at 4 inches, which is usually what I do. And 5 1/4. And that gives you your next layer to layer onto a card. So that's what I do. And you can use these pieces for something else too. You've seen me do that plenty of times. But I did want to show you, just in case, let me get all this out of the way, in case you're new to my channel. That's what I do with the envelopes so that I have some designer series paper to use. I'll bring these in again. Okay, that's the one that they show you how to make. And here's some alternatives. And of course, this alternative is the one where I scored it in half and made a stand-up easel card, quick, easy easel card. Then we have this alternative and this one, which are basically the same. And the one that they show you how to use. Still shots will be on my blog, Stampersdelight.com. And then we have these alternatives with the flower cart. And then some extras that I did. So you can see you can get a lot of cards. I think, what is this? There's 9 cards. So I've got 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I got 12 there. I think I'm missing a card. And then I have all these envelopes. Oh, there it is. There's the original card. So there's 13 cards where they tell you can get 9. And guess what? I've got enough die cuts left to cut these envelopes up. And I can make even more cards. So the paper pumpkins are definitely worth the money. And the link to join the paper pumpkin is also below. And then I don't want to forget my little bag. I hope you enjoyed these alternatives. And I do have one extra little tip for you today, which I've been meaning to show you. You ever have a stamp that you don't know what it goes to? I find myself that I have a lot of stamps, and what happens is I might forget which one it goes to, and it's like months later when I find it. I keep one of the large blocks. When I find a stamp and I don't know which set it goes to, I keep them all on this block. And as I use my stamp sets, I see that I'm missing a stamp, and I know exactly where to go to find it. Some of these, I never found the original stamp set, but this is how I keep ones that you find later on and you don't know where it goes. I keep them all on a block until I use the stamp set again, and if I find one missing, I go right to this big block, and I can find it. So I hope you enjoyed that little tip. I hope you enjoyed my paper pumpkin alternatives today. And as always, keep on stamping, Stampers. Bye.